Recording started.
Let's continue now to Chapter 17 of our textbook, where we're going to talk about working with assemblies. The example I'm going to be using for this lesson is the door hinges that we created back in the beginning of the semester. I'm going to post these door hinges on your blackboard so you can access them. I will also be using these door hinges probably for this exercise and maybe for the next one as well. So assemblies essentially is the combining of individual part files to create a single part that's working together. So you can use assemblies to see how things fit together, if they're going to fit together, but we're going to introduce new ideas such as assembly constraints, such as the assembly navigator. Some other things that are very similar and mirrored our parts when we were working on a part, but now we're going to use assemblies. So the first thing I would like to do is I'm just going to go ahead and open the first hinge file. Okay, and again, like I mentioned, I'm going to be posting these on Blackboard for you guys to go ahead and have access to. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start making an assembly of this. So one thing you may see that you may not have on yours that I do right now is you need to go to Start and you need to select Assemblies. When you do that, you'll have a whole new menu that appears at the bottom of your screen. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do, so I just simply opened a part, okay, and I also activated my assemblies. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click this button, Add Component. Okay, you can also click to the side, or you can just click the button itself and click Add Component. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to open Hinge 2. So again, I'll post these both online so you guys can do this easily. And what you'll see is you'll have two views. You'll have a view where we have our first hinge that we made, and then you'll have a little window here where we have the second hinge, and we can adjust them. So we're probably going to want them to be oriented something like this with each other, right? We can zoom in on this little window and do whatever we need to, and we have two separate windows. And this is going to be important for us because we're going to use constraints to assembly constraints now to align these two together. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and select positioning is going to be by constraints. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and set the reference set is solid, and the layer option is going to be work. Okay? And I'm going to click OK. And then now it's going to ask me what are the constraints you want to use to put these two door hinges together. So I'm simply going to select Touch and Align Constraints. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and select Touch. Okay. And I'm going to want, let's say, I have my hinge like this. I'm going to want this part of the hinge, so I can select. What I've done also is I've selected my filter in the top left-hand corner to be a face filter. So now all that's being selected are faces as I move my cursor over them. But I can select this face of our part, okay? And I can select, I want that to touch this face of the part. So now, what you may notice is we have our part navigator. We've talked about that a lot. Something we haven't talked about yet is we haven't talked about this option, the very top one, which is called the Assembly Navigator. And it's very similar to the Part Navigator, except now you can start seeing different options come up. So it's going to list our hinge, so this is going to be our assembly. This is the constraints that are associated with that assembly. So right now it only has the touch. Let's go ahead and set an align constraint also. So we're going to go ahead and align. Let's align this cylinder with this cylinder, the face of that cylinder. Okay, so those are the two constraints, and you see it's appeared in my my assembly navigator. I'm going to click OK now. So just like that now, we've combined two completely separate part files into a single part file to see how it fits together. And we can go in, we can really look at, okay, how does this fit together? Is it all the dimensions okay? So this comes in handy when we're putting together machines now and objects with gears and other things that have multiple moving parts. And we'll do some projects with that where we'll put some machines together and we'll look at some of the more detailed parts of this. But this is the general idea of combining two parts together using some assembly constraints. And we can do some other things also. We can adjust the angle between these, and we'll talk about that in a little while, so we can adjust how far these are together. But the next thing I really want to do, and I think I just have a little bit of time to do it, but I would like to go ahead and talk about making another part to this, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to insert a control pin, or a little pin through the center of this. And I think for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and save that pin exercise for the next lesson. We'll withdraw a pin, insert it through the center of this, and then I'll show you a few other tricks that you can use in order to successfully and just practice using these assemblies. So we'll talk it here, and I'll continue this lecture on the next video.